Weather and other ways not to start your novel. I'm Karen Berry with Right Now Editing, where we turn good manuscripts into great books.
And I'm Peg Thomas, award-winning author and also an editor.
And
we are two editors for 5 minutes.
So we just did a 5-minute talk on how not to start your novel with backstory overload. But there are other ways not to start your manuscript.
There are lots of other ways not to start your novel.
So today we're going to talk about two. Peg's going to touch on one. I'm going to touch on the other. Peg, why don't you start us off?
Please never, ever, ever start your story with the weather report. It is more common than you think. It's not quite. It was a dark and stormy night, but I have read some that are so close to that it's eerie. Weather reports are boring. I'm sorry. It's just not going to hook your reader. If you are writing something where the weather is almost a character in your story, like if you're writing about a hurricane or a tornado as a major character of itself in your story, that's a different thing. That's something that you can work with. That's where you actually create the storm to be its own character.
So maybe if movie-wise, like the movie Twister, where you've got storm chasers that are chasing after.
Yeah, that's a different thing. But if your characters are just coming into the scene and all that you're describing is the storm clouds or the sunshine, or your reader doesn't care about the weather report. So let's not be doing that. But another way you can bring that in is to write about how the weather is affecting that point of view character that you are writing from at that time. It's fine to write, he sat in the cold rain dribbling down his back as he watched, or you're putting him in the story. The weather is affecting him, and you can put it in such a way that the reader almost feels that wet rain going down their own back. That's active, and that's wonderful.
But that's weather impacting a character. That's not a weather report for the sake of a weather report. So that is lack of character. Now, one of the pet peeves I have that I've been seeing a lot of recently actually involves character. And it's this desire to catch the reader up as quickly as possible. So every time the character does something or hears something or says something, there's an internal or emotional response. So what I'm talking about is, for example, Susie walked into a room. It looked like the room she had when she was a child. She didn't want to think about that anymore. A voice from the back said, "Hello, is that you?" The voice sounded so familiar. It couldn't possibly be the person from her past, could it? No, she would pretend that never happened. Susie stubbed her toe. The pain radiated up her foot the same way it had last week when she was running. Something like that slows the story down immensely.
To a crawl.
And instead of engaging the reader with the action, I'm literally interrupted after every single thought, action, or bit of dialogue to explain it. And this can be counterintuitive, but it ties into what we were talking about with backstory. You don't want to drop that much backstory in at the very beginning. Just start the story. Have Susie walk into the room. Have her hear a familiar voice. She can stub her toe. Keep all of that going and let the reader experience the scene the same way and at the same time as your POV character. That helps the reader get settled into the story setting. It helps the reader relate to the character.
It helps them bond with the character.
Yeah,
and that's really what you're looking for. You're looking for that reader to bond with your point of view character.
You may think, oh, well, they need to know, though, how all of this impacts my character. Not right away. First, we need to see what this character is doing, how they're experiencing it, and decide whether or not we're going to root for or against this person before you stop dropping in all of those hints. A couple here and there are fine, but if there is one sentence of dialogue followed by a paragraph of internal reflection, back and forth all the way down your page, you've got too much internal reflection, and it's time to cut some of that out. And speaking of cut, I think...
Are we out of time again? This goes awful fast. I think my timer's too fast.
She has one job.
I have one job, and I don't do it very well. But anyway, we were two editors for 5 minutes, and we hope this one has been, what do we want to say, enlightening?
Helpful?
Either way.
We'll see you later.